What if the person you trusted most suddenly revealed a shocking secret? A knock at the door unraveled years of silence, leading to a confession that would test the strength of love, loyalty, and forgiveness. This story will leave you questioning how far you'd go for the people you care about. The evening began like any other, with the soft glow of the living room lamp, illuminating the photographs on the mantel. Each frame told a story, a frozen moment in time that now felt distant and foreign. My name is Eleanor, and if you'd asked me a week ago, I would have told you that my life, while imperfect, was steady. But now the ground beneath me feels unstable, as though I'm standing on a precipice unsure of what lies ahead. It all began with a knock at the door. I wasn't expecting anyone, and their rhythmic tapping sent a shiver through me. Pulling my cardigan tight, I opened the door to see my son Alex standing there, his face pale and his eyes clouded with something I couldn't quite place. "Mom," he said, his voice barely audible. Can I come in?" I stepped aside, concern rising in my chest. Alex wasn't the type to show vulnerability easily at 25. He was independent, strong-willed, and fiercely protective of me. It had been just the two of us since his father, Richard, had walked out nearly a decade ago, leaving behind more questions than answers. We sat in the kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator, the only sound betweens, as I poured us each a cup of tea, but Alex didn't touch his. Instead, he stared into the steaming liquid, his hand clenched around the mug. "What's wrong?" finally asked, unable to bear the silence any longer. He looked up at me, his eyes filled with an emotion I couldn't name. "I've been thinking about Dad," he said. The mention of Richard's name was like a slap. I hadn't heard it spoken aloud in years, and it brought with it a flood of memories. I'd worked hard to bury. "What about him?" I asked cautiously. Alex hesitated, then said, "Do you ever regret staying, Mom, staying with him for as long as you did?" His question caught me off guard. Regret was a word I'd avoided for so long, afraid that acknowledging it would unravel everything I'd fought to hold together. But now, faced with Alex's earnest gaze, I felt compelled to answer honestly. "I don't regret giving you a family," I said slowly, "but I do regret the years I spent convincing myself that things would get better when they never did." Alex nodded, his expression pained. "I always thought it was my fault. Admitted that if I'd been a better son, maybe he would have stayed." "No," I said firmly, reaching across the table to grasp his hand. "Richard's choices were his own. You were just H-old Alex. None of this was ever your fault." We sat in silence for a while, the weight of the past settling around us, like a heavy blanket. Finally, Alex broke the quiet. "I've been having dreams about him," he said. "About the day he left." My heart clenched. That day was etched in my memory like a scar. Richard's hurried Asian, his refusal to meet my eyes, and the way Alex had clung to my leg crying as his father walked out the door. "What do you dream about?" I said softly. "It's not always the same," Alex replied. "Sometimes he's angry, sometimes he's just gone, but in every dream I feel like I'm the one to blame." Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them away. "Alex," I said, my voice trembling, "you were never to blame. Your father made his choices, and they had nothing to do with you." That night, after Alex had gone tobed, I found myself unable to sleep. I paced the living room, the moonlight casting long shadows across the floor. My mind was racing, replaying our conversation over and over. For so long, I'd tried to shield Alex from the pain of Richard's abandonment, but now I realized that in doing so, I'd left him to carry that burden alone. The next morning, I resolved to talk to Alex again. I needed him to understand that he wasn't alone in his pain, that we could face it together over breakfast. I broached the subject cautiously. "Alex, I've been thinking about what you said last night," I began. He looked up from his plate, his expression guarded. "Yeah, I think it's time we stopped pretending that everything's okay. I said we need to talk about what happened, about how it's affected both of us." Alex hesitated, then nodded. "Okay," he said. "Where do we start?" We spent the day talking, really talking. We shared memories, some painful, some bittersweet. We cried and laughed, and for the first time in years, I felt a sense of release as though a weight I hadn't even realized I was carrying had been lifted. But as the sun began to set, a new tension crept into the room. Alex's gaze lingered on me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something he wasn't saying. Finally, he broke the silence. "Mom, there's something else I need to tell you," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. My heart raced. "What is it?" Alex looked away, his jaw tightening. "I've been seeing someone," he said. Relief washed over me, but it was short-lived the way he said it. The tension in his voice told me there was more to the story. "Who is it?" I asked. Gently, he hesitated, then said, "It's someone. I work with her. Name's Sarah. But there's a problem." "What kind of problem?" Alex died, running a hand through his hair. "She's married." The room seemed totaled. I stared at Alex, struggling to process his words. "Alex, no," I said, my voice firm. "You can't do this. You know how much pain infidelity causes." "I know, Mom," he said, his voice cracking. "But it's not that simple. She's unhappy. And I care about her." I shook my head, tears swelling up. "Alex, you deserve someone who can give you their whole heart, not someone who's tied to someone else." "I didn't plan for this to happen," he said, his voice rising. "I didn't ask for it, but now that it has, I can't just walk away." We argued late into the night, our voices echoing through the house. I begged him to reconsider, to think about the consequences. But Alex was stubborn, and I could see that his heart was already entangled in the days that followed. Our relationship grew strained, we spoke less, and when we did, it was clipped and tense. I felt like I was losing him, and it terrified me one evening. As I sat alone in the living room, the weight of everything crashing down on me, Alex walked in. He sat down across from me. High's expression, somber. "Mom," he said, his voice soft. I ended it. Relief flooded through me, but it was tempered by the sadness in his eyes. "Are you okay?" I asked. He shook his head. "Number. But I will be." That night we talked for hours, and for the first time in weeks I felt a glimmer of hope. Alex was hurting, but he was strong, and I knew he would get through this as I watched him sleep. On the couch, his face PE for the first time. In days I realized how much he'd grown. He wasn't a boy anymore. He was a man, navigating the complexities of life the best he could in the weeks that followed. Alex and I grew closer than ever. We faced our pain together, and in doing so, we found a new strength. Our bond was unshakable, forged through hardship and healing. And while the scars of the past would always remain, they were a testament to our resilience, because in the end, it wasn't the pain that defined us. It was the love that saw us through, as Eleanor and Alex faced the ultimate test of their bond. One truth remained undeniable. Love can heal, but scars never fully fade. What would you do if faced with this choice? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more heart-stopping stories that reveal the raw complexities of human relationships. Please subscribe this channel and comment. Nini Manisto.